Rating every player in each Premier League team's best 11 out of 10. Today, it's Chelsea's turn. So I'm going to rate each player from 1 to 10, with 10 meaning they're the best in the league in their position, so keep that in mind. As for Chelsea, they've just won the Club World Cup and they've spent a lot of money already this summer, but this is what team I think is their current best 11, although there's probably quite a few players unlucky to miss out. In goal, it's Rob Sanchez. Now, everyone knows that Chelsea need to upgrade their keeper, and despite some good performances this summer, that hasn't changed. He shows flashes of brilliance, but his consistency lets him down, and that's why I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Reece James is the obvious choice at right back, and as long as he stays fit, I feel like people have been saying that for ages, but as long as he stays fit, he is definitely one of the best in the league. However, a lot of the time we see him inverting into midfield or forming part of a back three, so his attacking output isn't as good as it used to be. Although that's not necessarily his fault, he gets an 8 out of 10. Cucurella is a left back, and I think people are beginning to see just how good he is, both defensively and offensively. Is he the best left back in the league? Maybe, but for now I'm going to give him a 9. Chalobah is the first centre back. Usually it would be Fofana, but he's been out of action for ages. I do think he's a great depth option, but I'd have to give him a 7 out of 10 overall. Then we've got Colwill. He's someone who I think pushed on massively last season, and I do think his ceiling is really high. However, if we're taking him for what he is right now, he also gets a 7 with the potential to move up to an 8 or a 9 in the future. This Chelsea midfield is stacked, and Caicedo, after a tricky start to life at the club, has shown how good he really is recently. For a pure defensive midfielder, he manages to get everywhere, and for me, he is the best in the league in that role. He gets the first 10 in the squad. Enzo Fernandez is next, and he's a difficult one for me. At moments, he's been one of Chelsea's best players, and he's contributed far more with goals and assists this season. Maybe I'm being harsh because I think he could easily be a 9, but I'll give him an 8 for now. Finally, we have Cole Palmer. Let's not waste any time here. He's Chelsea's new number 10, and I'm giving him a 10 too. Saying that, I think he'll be up against Florian Wirtz this season, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Out wide on the right is Pedro Neto. He had an outstanding Club World Cup campaign, so if he can continue that form, he'll be a real asset for Chelsea next season. However, his output hasn't always been super high, so until he improves on his consistency, he's getting a 7 from me. The striker could be Delap or Joao Pedro, but for this, I think Pedro's versatility means he could be played on the left too. I think Delap was an absolute bargain, Chelsea taking advantage of a very low release clause, so I do think he has the potential to be a top striker. Right now though, he's a 7 out of 10, but with plenty of things to improve on. Before I give the last player's rating, let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my ratings, and tell me which team I should do next. But for Joao Pedro, he made a huge impact at the Club World Cup, and I think he could be unreal for Chelsea next season. So he's getting an 8 out of 10 from me.